Today on the Hustling Artist Podcast, we have Justin Q. Williams. He comes to us from Atlanta, Georgia. He is an interior designer. Thank you so much for being here, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited for this conversation.
You just don't know. I'm excited for it too.
I feel like you would be the first visual artist that I have on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it is an honor to be here.
All right. Well, thank you. So, Justin is an interior designer, and correct me in any part where I'm wrong.
No, you got it right.
Living in Atlanta, Georgia. And he started designing. When did you start designing?
So, unofficially, I started designing when I was 13 years old. I had just this great interest in architecture and design and construction and just homes in general.
Okay.
And my parents really picked up on that, and they purchased a few different home design programs. They would purchase books and floor plan books and things like that. And one of the programs was called Chief Home Architect. And my dad purchased that, and he just pretty much handed it over to me. He said, learn this. Mm-hmm. And so I would take the tutorials, I would look online, and it was just so much fun. I would be up at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning just on this program designing dream homes for myself.
Okay.
And so from that point, I was 13 toward the latter of my 13th year, and my parents were renovating our house. And my dad said, here, draw our house, in 3D for the architect, or for the contractor rather, sorry. And he said, draw it as it is, and then draw it with the new additions. They were adding on a sunroom, extending the patio, and then they wanted to do this deck with a sunken jacuzzi.
Okay.
And so I drew it all up and drew it in 3D, and my dad and I made any changes to it, and my dad printed it off, and the contractor came over probably 2 days later, and he looked at the plans, and he said, oh, what architect did you have draw these up? Mm-hmm. These are really good. And my dad's like, oh, my son did it. And he said, the 13-year-old that was just in here? And he's like, yeah, that's my son. He drew him up.
Wow.
He said, no way. And so my dad calmed me down, and I'm talking to the contractor and just kind of walking him through the plans. And, at that point, the contractor wanted to offer this service to his, clients. Mm-hmm. So I started drawing for him at 13 years old.
And this was like a 3D computer?
Yes.
Okay.
So Chief Home Architect, pretty much you can draw up any structure and see it in 3D. Mm-hmm. And so I started to draw for this particular contractor, and I was making some good money, as a preteen.
Sure.
And so from that point, I wanted to learn how he was doing these things. So my parents allowed me to pretty much renovate my room. And I wanted to add crown molding, and I wanted to, change out the lighting fixtures. Mm-hmm. And so I worked hand in hand with the contractor in doing that. Mm-hmm. And so also he would allow me to come on to jobs with him where I would start with hand them the hammer, hand them the screws.
Right.
And then I got into hammering the nails and screwing the screws and on the saw and on roofs. So I would work with him each summer that I was out of school up until the point it was time to go to college.
So you were building.
Yes.
So you saw it from, I have this creative eye, and now I'm going to go in and make that happen.
Because I wanted to learn the workings of, what I was drawing. Mm-hmm. And, I was thankful that his name is Robert Perry, and I know him to this day.
Okay.
I was just thankful that he gave me the opportunity to, go out as a young man and assist him on those projects.
Sure. Okay. So now you were doing that up until the time that you went to college.
Yes.
Now, when you went to college, what was your focus?
So I did not know that interior design was a job.
Okay.
I didn't want to be an architect. So I went to school for the next best thing, which I thought I wanted to become a dentist.
Okay.
So I went to school for biology.
All right.
I went to Bethune-Cookman down in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Okay. Right. Okay. So now you're in school.
Yes.
You are studying biology. Mm-hmm. And then you decide.
So, I was studying biology, and I was actually really good. I love science.
Sure.
And, but I just randomly, of course, as a freshman, you decide, I want to change. Mm-hmm. I wanted to become a business major. And so that's what I changed my major to business, mm-hmm. Which I'm actually glad that I did that, because I was sitting in a business class one day,
right,
and the business professor said, in order to be successful in life, you need to take what you're good at as long as it's legal. Don't let me getting crazy out there. Take what you're good at and sell it. And those words just like rang to me. And from that point, I decided that I'm going to quit school and I'm going to take what I'm good at and sell it.
Okay.
And I was really, really good at decorating and interior design and coming up with concepts and things like that.
Okay. Now, can you tell me at the beginning of your interior design career,
Yes.
how did that get started?
So actually, I would do it on the side.
Okay.
You know, I worked at that point, I moved back to Atlanta, got in my apartment. I lived off of Lenox Road in Buckhead.
Yeah.
And I started working at a church, at Waukesha Road Baptist Church, as a youth counselor. And I love that job because I love kids too. So worked as a youth counselor, and you know, I would have people over, you know, friends and things like that, come over to my apartment like, oh, you did such a good job decorating this place. One friend in particular, his aunt was moving to a condo in Smyrna. And his aunt came over and said, oh, Justin, I want you to decorate my 3-bedroom place. So I called my mom, and because this was really my first client job, you know, I called my mom and she said, well, go for it. You know, you're good at this. And if anything happens, your dad and I, we got you.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. So I went over to her place, you know, did a consultation, and she went away for the weekend. And I got everything I needed, decorated the place, painted the walls, had drapes made, all of that good stuff. Of course, we had planned this out up until the point where she left. So she left and it was install time. I came in, friends helped me out. We put everything in place. And she came back that Sunday and she walked in and she started crying.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, oh my gosh, she's crying. She hates it. I've messed up this lady's place.
No.
But she was just crying tears of joy because she had never had a space that was that beautiful. So from that point, the people that, you know, the sales office came in and they started putting my name out there. And by the end of the year, I'd done at least 10 units in that particular building.
Okay.
And one of them was a blogger named Nicole Bitchy at the time. Now she goes by XO Nicole.
Okay.
And I did her place. And she took a picture of me while I was doing her space, and she tagged me on Twitter because Instagram wasn't out during that time. She tagged me on Twitter, and I mean, the following got crazy.
Wow.
And so from that point, I had to come up with a name for myself.
Yeah.
And that's when we dubbed the name Trademark Design Company, making your home your trademark.
Wow. And that was at 18, 19 years old?
That was 18, 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so from that point, I got a little bit more of a following and clientele, and started working a lot more on the side along with doing my part-time work at the church as well. And it got into a point when I was 21, 22, and I just couldn't do the church anymore.
Wow, that's amazing.
And had to do, you know, design full-time.
So how long have you been running that company?
So the company's been running now 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's just been really, really awesome.
That's great.
It's been fun, and I've been able to, you know, I've had mentors along the way that I was able to actually work with and get paid before the company just kind of took my full-time, before I took a full-time position with the company. And just being able to learn hands-on, that's the best way for me to learn.
Right.
Because I retain more knowledge that way. But also being a sponge to those who did take me under their wing also helped me a lot.
Right. So you stepped out on faith.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because I wonder, and this is like a segue tangent, one of those things. I wonder as I was choosing my degree when I was coming along, you know, basically they have the 3 or 4 different degrees as young Black people that that we can choose, right? Lawyer, doctor, business, and at that engineer, whatever. And so I had chosen lawyer. Okay. And I decided that's what I'm going to do and that's what I'm going to be. And then all of a sudden, whatever was pulling me back to music just kept pulling, and I could not stop that.
That's passion.
Yeah.
That's passion. And it's so important for people to follow their passion. I'm just thankful because, you know, you have a lot of parents that will push you in that direction. They're like, no, you're not going to do anything artistic because artists don't make any money.
Right.
And, you know, Honestly, it's because they want what's best.
Sure.
They want their kids to have stability and have a good paying job so that they can provide for their families. So it takes a lot of guts for a parent, and as I get older, I believe this more and more. It takes a lot of guts for a parent to actually stand behind their artistic child.
Right. Yeah, because that phone call that we make to our parents when we say, "Well, I have this opportunity, and it's the first time," and every time, go, and that's important, really, really important. I think that support is it's newer though. When you were now something we didn't mention, something that I know that you are an instrumentalist, musician.
Yes.
Now, when you were playing music, did you find that if you wanted to major in music that they would have been supportive, or what did you find out about that?
I think if I wanted to major in music, I think they probably would have been even more supportive because they're music teachers, instructors, and things like that. The interior design realm was so new, to them that it was kind of them going in blindly. Whereas with music, they know that there is guaranteed work, or work in general that's provided to musicians.
Right.
So yeah, but I don't think I would have ever taken that route with music. I love music, but music is more so for me an escape.
I got you.
It's kind of therapy for me.
I got you. Well, let's talk about the interior design industry.
Yes.
So, as someone who doesn't know a lot about interior design, can you tell me a little bit about the industry just as a whole and how it's sort of structured?
For sure. So, there's a difference between, a lot of people don't know this because they'll call their designer a decorator. There's a difference between a designer and a decorator. I can literally plan a home, the layout, the structure, all of that, work directly with the contractor. Typically, decorators only focus on decor. Your sofas, your window treatments, rugs. I can focus on the layout of your home, spatial planning of the home.
As it's in
development. Correct.
Okay.
So also, even if, there's an unfinished basement, planning the layout for that, working directly with the contractor to know the structural beams that we can and cannot move.
Okay.
Things like that. Typically, a decorator will not get their hands in that. I love doing that because it really makes me feel like it's my creation from start to finish.
Gotcha.
And and so that's why I consider myself a designer, because I do dabble all in the structure of a home. And it's because as a child I was working with these structures, from bare bones to completely finished. So that's one thing that a lot of people kind of get confused about in the design world. Another thing is, having a formally trained interior designer. I personally feel like you're born with taste and you're born with conception, like things like that. I feel like you're born with. I feel like it's natural. For me, that's something that I've always been into. So, I consider myself being born with it. It's just about me molding and perfecting that craft and that gift.
Okay.
And so a lot of times, even in the design world amongst designers, there are people that are frowned upon that aren't formally trained. But honestly, some of the most talented designers are not formally trained. And for me, I always feel like it's best to be trained hands-on.
Gotcha.
You're actually in there doing the work. It's not coming from a book. It's coming from your actual experience. And people tend to be able to carry out their craft a lot better when it's hands-on.
Gotcha.
So those are just a few different,
So that's interesting. So I never knew that there was a separation between decorators and interior designers. And I didn't know that interior designers can actually shape the development of a home as it's being created.
Absolutely.
So that's really interesting. So what are some of the industries that interior designers can go into?
Oh, there's so much. There's set design, there's staging, a lot of designers choose between residential and commercial. I was actually hired to do an interior designer's house because she is a commercial designer and they have different, things that they focus on. different concepts. They work with a lot more of a broad, generic scale of work.
So commercial designer would be like, give me an example.
So someone that would design a hotel.
Okay.
Or an apartment complexes, common spaces.
Gotcha.
So they work with a lot of commercial furniture. Mm-hmm. They work with a lot of commercial wall finishes, mm-hmm. commercial flooring, things like that. Things that are done on a broad scale of design.
Everybody has to like it.
Correct. Okay. And, when it comes to residential, we work on more of a personal level. Mm-hmm. It's about what the client likes, so about what the client wants, their needs. Mm-hmm. So we have to meet a lot of those different needs, and they can't just be generic, finishes or colors or touches, because this is a place where someone lives and comes home every day. It's personal to them.
Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah. Well, that's amazing. Okay, so now as an artist, when you're working in this field, how do you get out there in terms of building your network and your craft and getting your artwork out?
So for me, it was networking events. Mm-hmm. Anything that was geared toward the industry events, I was there, shaking hands, meeting professionals. That's actually how I met my mentor. I got a flyer that said, this person, her name's Annette Joseph. I got a flyer that said Annette Joseph is speaking at Room and Board. And Annette Joseph, and that's another part of design that we need to talk about too, which is styling.
Okay.
So Annette Joseph is a photo stylist.
Okay.
A lot of people don't understand what photo stylists do.
Right.
So I too consider myself a photo stylist after having worked with her for, a few years. A photo stylist is someone that goes into a home that's being shot for a magazine, and they style it for that magazine. Excuse me. So a lot of the photos that you see when you go through a magazine, you're like, oh my gosh, that home is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. A lot of times that home did not look like that before the stylist got there. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we'll go in, we'll say, this is a little too large for the magazine, for a shoot. Mm-hmm. We'll take that out, we'll put in something smaller. Everything has to look good on camera so that it translates well in print. And so we'll go into a lot of homes that have been designed by designers with the designers on set, and we'll change their design a little bit just so that it translates well on print.
Wow.
So a lot of people don't know about that. Even the different scenes that are set up on hotel commercials and things like that. A lot of times that's a set designer. You want to know who put that floaty in the pool to make it go by on the camera in the background at just the right time? That's a photo stylist.
Wow.
So that's a whole nother realm of, design.
Yeah.
So, anywho.
No, please. I love it. I love it.
Went out to listen to her talk. And she was just so charismatic. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to meet this lady. I went up after her talk and introduced myself to her. And she lives here and in Italy. So she's like, I want to meet with you when I get back from Italy. Okay. So I met with her, and we ended up shooting a pilot for Bravo. She was shooting a reel for Bravo. And we shot together, but we ended up just working so well together that I ended up working with her for, years until I could end up working for myself full time.
That's amazing.
But that's how I learned to style.
Right.
So you'll notice that in a lot of my photos, even online, they are styled really clean, really crisp.
For the shot.
Because I studied under a stylist.
Wow. Okay. So I'm starting to understand. There's a lot.
There is a lot.
I feel like I need to take notes for myself. Okay. So let's shift gears just a little bit. So when you're in this industry, styling and things like that, what are some of the other opportunities that are extensions that you just said you shot a pilot for Bravo?
Yes.
What is that for? What was
that? Of course, television is one. Everyone's interested now in the home realm. So that's an opportunity. Things even like this. I've done a ton of radio shows, interviews, features and things like that. So being published in magazines.
Right.
So there are just so many different things that are afforded to someone who's in the design world, even to teach others who want to enter this field. Because what I've learned is that a lot of people say, oh my gosh, it looks like so much fun, in which it is fun, but also there's an amount of work that has to be put into making these homes beautiful.
Right.
Between planning the homes out, you know, having conversations with the client, making sure that you're hitting the nail on the head with everything that they want, sourcing items, transfer of items, you know, so there's just so many different sectors to this job that a lot of people don't see, because what you see is the end result.
That's the hustling artist part.
Yes.
The part that people don't see.
Yes.
What so give someone just a brief glimpse of what that would look like.
Okay. So from the point of meeting a client, you know, you're consulting with them. This is really an interview.
Sure.
An interview for the homeowner to me and me to the homeowner.
Gotcha.
Because everyone doesn't work well together. And I'm at a point now where we have to mesh in order to work together.
Absolutely.
And so, because you end up building a friendship, you know, you build a relationship with these people. Like a lot of my clients right now to this day, I can call, text, get on the phone with, because we've built a rapport with one another and we've gotten to know each other. So the point of consultation, we start with a preliminary plan. You know, I get to know them, they get to know me. I go through a questionnaire with them, and I go back to my desk and I plan out this space, you know, and that's what we call the preliminary plan. From that point, I'll review that preliminary plan with them. They'll decide whether or not, okay, he can design, you know. The preliminary plan is not anything final. It's just to say, I'm capable of designing your home to your liking. So from that point, they say, okay, Justin, I want to hire you. Okay, cool. We'll go back to that preliminary plan. They will send me pieces and articles that they want to change. I will then provide to them options for those particular pieces. We'll meet again. From that point, we've made our final selection. That is now the final design plan. Now it's time for order procurement. So we'll start placing these orders. Things will start to come in. And guess what? Some of those things will be broken. That's just what it is. You know, it happens all the time. A corner's missing, pieces are missing, things like that. And those are things that the people, the general public, they don't see that, you know, those headaches. And let's not even get involved with construction. You know, that's a whole nother ball game. We're just talking about decor right now.
Right.
So pieces come in, and then from that point, we'll go through we'll go through QA, quality assurance, just to make sure that everything on our checklist is good. If we're good to go, we're setting install. At install, myself, Ashley, my assistant, will come in and we'll get this place together. I don't like for the homeowners to be home. If they have to be home, go to another space. Just because what you don't want to happen is, ooh, Justin, I don't know about that.
In progress.
You know, as we're moving along.
Right.
And which typically when that happens, at the end, they're like, oh, it looks great now. And that is when you have to remind the client that is why you hired me.
Right.
You know, you hired me based on my expertise. You hired me based on the proof that I can do this space to your satisfaction.
Right.
And I don't think I've ever had a time where a client has come in and hated what we put together, because it's so important to plan. You know, we went by a plan. Everything that you see on this paper is in this room. So that is what really kind of gives you a bit more insurance, you know.
Right. So there's a lot of man hours, and what people think it is you're doing a lot of shopping and having fun.
Exactly.
And then you're right. So then also I'm hearing you say that if it gets any deeper than just decor, now you have to do like maybe outsourcing work and have to have a team and things like that. And like those schedules can get kind of crazy.
It gets crazy because, you know, you have to wrangle all of these people in on this one project, and you literally have to put a schedule together. The painter's going to be here. The contractor's going to be here. You know, the wallpaper installer's going to be here.
Project
Flooring
management.
is going to be here. Project management. You know what I mean? Like all of those things have to be properly timed. And then also, if we don't have direct access to the house,
Sure.
we have to then figure out the client schedule, so that we can work around that.
Wow. I don't want to do what you do. Because all I have to do is worry about my schedule and my client, and that is it. So now you have to be a whole construction site.
Yes. So a lot of people don't understand that a huge part of an interior designer's job is project management.
Right.
It's a huge part.
Right.
For sure.
Well, that's amazing. Well, can you tell me, so I saw your Atlanta Magazine article. Can you tell me some more publications that you've been in?
Yes. So Atlanta Magazine's home. I'm actually in a cookbook that is published by Rizzoli International, and it's actually under Annette Joseph. It's her debut cookbook, which is called Picture Perfect Parties.
Amazing.
Sold all over the world. We shot that cookbook a few years ago, and it goes back to the styling aspect, plating the food. So when you see cookbooks, those cookbooks have been professionally styled by a photo stylist. So you'll see me in there. There's been 26 Magazine, Empower. I mean, there have been a lot of different.
Great.
Voyage, ATL. I mean, I've done a lot of different publications.
That's amazing. Sure. And so when you have those types of publications, like obviously the one with Annette Joseph was her book, so that's a different type of thing. But when you have the publications like, let's just use Atlanta Magazine Homes, because how does that, how has that helped you? That exposure?
That for me is notoriety. So when people go and Google Justin Q. Williams, they see all of these different publications and features and things like that. That just solidifies my work in this industry. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this guy is serious. It's not something, as you know, it's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, Google me.
Right.
I don't do that because I still consider myself a grinder. I'm still building right now.
I had to Google you because we met at a I want to say a hookah bar. Yeah. Should I say that out loud?
Well, it's a hookah bar restaurant,
right?
Because I was eating.
Yeah, we were eating, and everybody's just so down to earth. And that was going to be my next question to you: is because you're a grinder, you wouldn't see all of these accolades. And then I started to go through, and I was like, oh wait, he's done a lot of work. Where you would see, where you would think someone would be like have a little bit more like what do you call it? Little, I don't want to say ego because I don't think that, but just feeling that experience, But I thought he's very humble for all the work that he's done. So what's coming up next?
Actually, today I'm shooting with Aspire TV.
Yay!
Yes, so I'm excited about that. It's with Nikki Chu. She has a show called Out of the Box.
Okay.
Or Unboxed, rather, I should say. I was thinking Out of the Box, but it's called Unboxed with Nikki Chu, and it's on Aspire TV. So I'll be shooting with them today. They're bringing me on as a design influencer.
Nice.
So again, something that kind of just solidifies my work in this industry.
Absolutely.
And I've been doing this for a long time. So a lot of people are like, well, you're still young. And I'm like, but I still feel like I have so much
skin in the game.
do,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's up next. I've done so many different auditions for TV. I'm hoping that something will stick, you know?
Absolutely.
Because it's not really that I'm seeking it. People have been coming to me like, hey, can we get a Skype interview with you? Can we do this? Can we meet here? Can we do that? So I'm hoping that it'll stick because I really do feel like TV is my next thing.
Yeah.
I have a real strong feeling about that.
Okay.
And if it is, I will accept that for sure with open arms.
Well, I'm gonna also put that into the universe as well. So last thing, can you give me a word for young interior designers or anyone that wants to be in this field? What you would say to them from your vantage point now, from where you started?
So from this point, what I would say to young aspiring designers or anyone, it can be older aspiring designers, is to be a sponge. I think in the world that we live in right now, everybody knows everything. And you should go into every situation where you're trying to learn as if you know absolutely nothing. And I think that's what helped me in the industry is that I could learn, and I would take those things and apply them to what I was trying to do. So if with me, it was trying to open a design business. So I would learn from different business owners, learn from different designers who had a business.
Gotcha.
But also I wanted to offer something different, which is where the styling aspect comes in to play. So I learned from a professional stylist how to style, how to build clients, and how to be published in different magazines, because those magazines do add to your notoriety and they do kind of validate who you are in your industry.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for sharing the time with me.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. And I'm sure that someone out there can appreciate your experiences.
Absolutely.
Because I know I can. And it actually inspires me to go get on my grind right now.
Hey.
But thank you so much.
No problem.
And I hope we can check back in with you.
Anytime.
And you'll let me know what's going on with your adventures with your TV aspirations and anything else that comes up.
Absolutely. I sure will.
All right. Well, thank you.
This is only the beginning.